My name is Lisa and this is Freedom Grows. Today I want to talk about some holiday gifting ideas that you may want to try out. I'm going to be doing this myself. I did a couple of these last year and I gave them out as Christmas gifts, which ended up being a nice personal touch. Things were homegrown, they were homemade, and I feel like it was received very well. So I'm going to be doing the same thing this year, and I wanted to share with you and bring you along a couple of these items while I make them. There are 4 items total, and I'm going to actually show you the process of making 2 out of the 4. Now, the other 2, I'm not going to show this process only because it's the first week of December. I think it's December 3rd today, yeah. And I don't want to make this too early before Christmas. I want to do this a little bit later in the month, but I definitely wanted to share the video with you beforehand to give you some inspiration if you're interested in doing this yourself. So the first one would be an herb bouquet. Last year, I purchased a couple of glass vases, smaller ones, and I went out into the garden and picked some herbs. And I also had some flowers growing that I picked, and I included them in the bouquet. And in that bouquet, there was rosemary, thyme, parsley, a little bit of basil, and at the time I was growing echinacea and calendula, so I added those 2 flowers in each bouquet. And it turned out beautiful, it was lovely, and it was well received. I added some water in the vase, I picked the herbs closer to Christmas, and then I gifted that to a couple of people on Christmas. The second gift idea that I wanted to discuss that I will also be doing this year would be gingerbread cookie men or gingerbread men. Instead of the traditional regular gingerbread man cookie, I'm going to be doing a sourdough cookie. So I will attempt that. Maybe I'll make a quick video, maybe publish it out as a short later in the month while I'm doing it, just to share the recipe or how it turned out. But I will be doing that this year. I think something home baked, especially sourdough, is a lovely gift. It's something that you made yourself, and of course sourdough is a lengthier process and it's much healthier for you, for your gut, your digestive system. So I feel like it will be really well received. You can just purchase one of those tin boxes. Even if you're on a budget, you can go to one of those dollar stores and they sell the Christmas themed or holiday themed, if you're not, doing Christmas per se, but holiday themed tin boxes or even holiday themed cardboard boxes, similar to this. So something like this is what I'm referring to. You can put some filler in those boxes, wrap the cookies individually or all together, add them in there, and it makes for a really nice personal gift. The third item, and I'm going to bring you with me right now, I'm going to show that to you, and then I'll come back and talk about the 4th item and also show that to you as well. So the third item would be homemade soaps. So I'm going to be making 2 different variations. I'm going to make a lavender honey soap, and I'm going to also do an activated charcoal soap. Activated charcoal is really great for the skin. It pulls out toxins, it clears acne, it helps with certain skin conditions, so it's really great for the skin. And for the other bars, the honey lavender, honey's great for the skin as well. Normally, I would make a traditional lye-based soap. I've been doing that for the past couple of years. I've been using my own homemade soaps. But when you're making soap with lye, that soap, once you create the bar, it requires 4 to 6 weeks to cure before you can actually use it. And because I'm starting this process in the beginning of December, I won't have all that time to wait before I gift the soap unless I tell them that they have to wait another couple of weeks, which I don't want to do. So I'm going a different route this time, and I purchased a different type of soap base that does not require curing. So what I purchased is a goat's milk soap base, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. I'll show it to you actually. Now, if the thought of goat's milk throws you off, just know that most of the ones that are on the market, they don't come with a smelly scent or overpowering smell. This one here doesn't have a scent at all, the one that I have. But if you are vegan or you'd just rather not use animal products, you can go with a oatmeal soap base, and there are others on the market that aren't goat milk. But goat milk has a lot of nutrients, vitamins, moisturizing properties, so it's great for the skin as well. If you're also trying to do the vegan route, you can do, for the lavender honey, instead of adding honey in there, you can just go straight up lavender and use a different soap base, like an oatmeal soap base. It's very customizable. It's very forgiving. So you can definitely make them your own. So let's go ahead and show you this process. I'm going to first do the lavender honey, and then I'll show you the activated charcoal. All right, before we get started, I just wanted to point out that I'm still living in the RV. We are full-time RVing for now, temporarily. So you don't need a big kitchen or fancy expensive items to make these things. These are very humble, straightforward items, and you can use whatever you have. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm using here. First thing I want to do is set up my double broiler. You can microwave these ingredients, but I prefer not to. I don't have a fancy double broiler here in this RV, so I am just doing a makeshift double broiler here, which works just fine. And I'm going to add my ingredients in here so that I can start melting it all together. See, I have a goat milk soap base, but you can use, like I said, an oatmeal soap base. Just make sure that you pick something that has natural ingredients. This is what it looks like when you take it out, and since this is a 4-pound block, I'm going to just use 2 blocks here for 1 pound for this recipe. As you can see here, I cut those 2 bars into cubes so that they melt easier and quicker. I'm gonna go ahead and let this heat start working up, and I'm going to start slowly mixing this so that it heats evenly. This whole process with getting it all melted down is going to take about 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and start turning this temperature down because it's, I would say, about 98% melted all the way through. We just have a couple little pieces here that still need to melt through. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. This part here is optional, but you can add 2 tablespoons of dried lavender flowers. I didn't have any, so I'm adding dried echinacea, dry calendula, and butterfly pea flowers. I will also be adding 1 tablespoon of raw honey and about 40 to 45 drops of organic lavender oil. Now, for the honey, you want to make sure that you use raw honey, because if you don't, it may not mix or incorporate very well into the soap. You may find that the honey sinks to the bottom, or that it forms little air pockets inside of honey. If you're using raw, you shouldn't have that problem. It'll incorporate just fine into the soap base. You'll want to work pretty quickly here, or at least leave the stove on a very low heat so that it doesn't start to clump up and dry up, because this does take form pretty quickly. What I have here is a silicone soap mold in a wooden box. I'm going to go ahead and pour my soap into this mold. Now, of course, you can use whatever soap mold you like. I just had this one on hand, and I'll be cutting it in a certain way. Now, I'm also going to spray the top with rubbing alcohol, which does end up evaporating, so it's not a problem. But it does reduce the bubbles, and it makes for a cleaner look. For a more even distribution of flowers, you can actually mix those flowers in one more time after you pour it into the mold. I just didn't do that part. I'm about to start the second soap, which is the activated charcoal soap, and here is the powder that I have. This recipe calls for the same amount of soap, which is 1 pound of soap base, and 1 tablespoon of activated charcoal. This will take a little while to fully incorporate. It took me just a couple of minutes to get it all mixed in. As you can see here, it's starting to become nice and glossy. Now the essential oils that you can add in here for the scent can be whatever it is that you'd like. I'm just adding organic bergamot, peppermint, and lavender oil. I'm just gonna do probably 20 lavender, 20 bergamot, and about 5 drops of peppermint. I went ahead and mixed that all in, and now I am pouring this into the same soap mold that I used for my previous soap bars. Now I'd like you to notice the little bubbles that have formed. Once I spritz this with alcohol, the rubbing alcohol, the bubbles go away. So like I said, it makes for a cleaner look, but it's optional. You can always come back and hit this with a heat gun and it'll also remove the bubbles. This cutter that I have here, soap cutter, came with the soap mold that I had purchased. So I'm just cutting them in 4s, and I'm going to cut the edges off so that I have ridges on the edges. And you can go even further and cut the other 2 sides, the ones that you see that I didn't cut, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it the way it is, but that's optional. You can cut the other sides as well. So I'm doing the same thing with the second soap bars. I'm going to make the same exact cuts. These soaps are being gifted to 2 people. So I will give them the 2 best looking ones, and I'll keep the other 2 that may have imperfections. And here's the final result. I went ahead and wrapped these up and tied them up with some twine, and it makes for a nice little gift. All right, now for the 4th and final gift idea or product that I will be making is homemade lip balm or chapstick. Now I purchased some tubes online on Amazon. You can purchase clear tubes, black tubes, or white tubes. I personally wanted to go with the black tubes. I thought they looked very sleek and elegant, nice, but I got outvoted. My husband and daughter thought clear would be better. So I purchased clear tubes. It comes in a pack of 40 or 50, which I don't need that much. This recipe that I'll be making probably will only fill 10 to 15 tubes. So I'll keep these tubes for future use. But you can purchase the tubes online. They are relatively inexpensive. So now I'll show you the ingredients and the process of making it now. All right, here's our ingredient lineup. We're going to need 1 tablespoon of sweet almond oil, half of a teaspoon of honey. This would also be raw, unfiltered honey. If you go with any honey that is not raw, it may not incorporate completely into the mix. You may find honey sinking to the bottom of the little lip balm containers or not fully incorporating. So definitely try going with raw honey if possible. And then the essential oil of your choice. I'm using bergamot because I love the citrusy smell, and it's a little more on the sweet side. Now the beeswax, you'll need 2 tablespoons of beeswax and then 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. In here we have 3 of those 5 ingredients. We have the beeswax, coconut oil, and the sweet almond oil. And it's in a double broiler, and I'm going to gently heat this until it's all melted and mixed together. And then I will be adding my honey and my essential oil at the end. The beeswax that I have, it comes in small blocks. You can get them in pellet form, much smaller, or shaved. I had to shave this myself because if I just threw the block in there, it would take a longer time to melt. So I went ahead and just measured the 2 tablespoons and shaved this down so that it can melt quicker. Once this is melted, you'll want to take it off the heat so you can add the other ingredients. Going to add my honey to this and my bergamot essential oil. I want to make sure that the honey is fully incorporated in here. And so what I'll do is I'll continue to stir this semi-vigorously for the next minute or 2. before this mixture solidifies. So that way I can easily pour this into my lip balm tubes, but I'll have the honey fully incorporated. As you can see, I secured all of my tubes together with a rubber band at the bottom, and I'm using a small funnel to help guide this liquid into the tubes so that I don't make a huge mess. All right, as you can see here, they are solidifying. I'm going to let them cool off and harden a little bit more. And then what I'll do is for the ones that are slightly overfilled, I may just take a very sharp knife or a blade and scrape the very top part off so that it can be nice and even at the top. This is what the final product looks like, and these tubes are the twist up tubes like the standard chapsticks. And that is a wrap. Thank you for being here with me. If you're still here, I want to thank you for sticking around to the end of the video, and hopefully some or all of these ideas inspire you to go out and do something homemade for your friends, family, and loved ones.